We're live at
Fucking
5.
appliances was wild. Yeah, for most.
We're now live, apparently. According to the restreamer, we are now live. Hello, everyone. I'm Ozmourn. I hope that you've been doing well on this Sunday. Well, now Monday, if you're in Eastern time zone, or in Europe, or in Australia, or any time, pretty much any part of the world that isn't Central or earlier. I'm Ozmourn, and today we're going to be playing Superliminal Glitchless. I'm tabbed out of the game. That's why you can't hear sound. But I do have another commentator with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Alright, hello, I'm Jayo.
Yes. And Jayo and I are going to be showing you Superliminal Glitchless. I did think it was kind of weird that the two games, I submitted 4 games, only 2 of them involve like shooting something or getting shot at, and they accepted both of the games that I don't shoot anything. So it's quite an interesting take. I'm glad that they accepted it nonetheless, but I hope that you guys can enjoy this this really good game, really good speed run. We're currently having a tournament going on for this right now, especially for this category. Glitchless, it's a very beginner-friendly speed run. I think it's something that everyone can get into. Jayo, do you have anything you want to say before we get into the run?
Not really. Only thing is, can you start up a screen share smiley face?
Oop, you right. Haha. Getting some smiley faces in chat for me forgetting to do a screen share. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Okay, so the timing will not begin when we go into the first level, but rather it will begin when we walk through this first door. So with that being said, we're going to just start in 3. Oh wait, you need to make sure the in-game timer is in fact on, because that's how we time this game. 3 IGT, not RTA, because of load times. I'm very professional, in case you couldn't tell. So with that being said, we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, go. So Jayo, do you want to explain what the basics of Superliminal are and what we're going to be seeing throughout this run?
Yeah, so this is Superliminal. Basically, you're seeing it in this first few rooms here, but the point of this game is that when you grab an object, you're able to resize it based on where it's in the screen. The sort of a core slogan, I guess, is perception is reality. So you're able to see, especially in this room, Oz is making that cube smaller and bigger depending on how far away it is from him.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the core mechanic of the game. So whether it be resizing boxes like in this level or resizing portals to get yourself to be bigger and smaller sizes in future levels.
I feel like this is a best example of it right there.
Yeah, the super tiny cheese turning into that massive ramp.
Yeah, exactly. And this first level, Induction, is a very difficult level. It's a very reset heavy level, not just because it's the first one, you know, because everyone likes to reset in like the first 2 minutes of their speedruns, but it's also incredibly difficult because it's also just incredibly difficult because of all the precision they have to make. As you can see, I did like a bunch of different puzzles back there, and it was very, very precise. It's a lot harder than it looks. And right here is a good example of just the game lining itself up for us perfectly. So where you can just look up and resize that sign and hit both buttons and open the door. Sometimes you can soft lock yourself in that room where the sign will just fall down and go off both buttons, so you can't go forward or back. Beautiful fast cheese. My goodness, that was great.
That looked really nice.
That was clean.
So basically what happened there is whenever you let go of a physics object, there's a little bit of time after letting go where the physics is kind of messed up. So Oz bonked into the cheese, which bonked into the wall, which absolutely flung the wall. And that was like a really good one too. They don't all look like that.
It's absolutely amazing. But with that being said, we're now going to optical. As the name implies, it's all about optical illusions. I don't know if there's anything particular about optical that you want to mention, Jayo, now that we're going into it.
The only thing is that there are 2 versions of Superliminal that most runners play on, Modern and Legacy. Legacy is just an older patch of the game. I'm not sure exactly when it is, that patch. Do you know?
It was, I believe, the Steam version, either the Steam version, which came out November 3rd, 2020, or the Epic Games version that came out on November 3rd, 2019. It's one of those two.
Yeah. But that room back there with that exit sign, there's a way in the Legacy patch to entirely skip most of this chapter using that exit sign room. In newer versions of the game, that's been patched out because in the place where you would do that skip, there's now an Easter egg, so the door to the end of the chapter is blocked up by an Easter egg that you just... The door just isn't there in the newer updates.
Yeah.
So you need to go through the chapter now.
Yeah,
which loses a ton of time in this chapter. However, there are other glitches in other chapters that, well, not glitches, but other exploits in other chapters that gain most of the time back.
How dare you say we're going to do a glitch in a glitchless run? That's fine. Right here, what you're going to see me do is actually jump resizing with this box right here with this die. Essentially, what that is when you jump and you grab and let go of an object, the object will slowly increase in size as you go underneath it. As you like just jump, click, jump. That's it. That's literally all it is. It's a mechanic that was actually originally supposed to be an intended part of the game, but the developers decided that it was too complicated for casual players, and so they were just like, we're not going to use it anymore. Oop, I dropped. As we can see, we got the exit sign from the moon naturally. Where else would the end of the level be? Oh my goodness, what is this?
Oh no.
What is this?
You're like the exact wrong size.
My goodness. Okay, so that was a good example of resizing portals and how badly it can go for you. Essentially, resizing the portal itself, you're not just resizing the doorway you're going through, you're resizing yourself. And we're going to see really good examples of that like later in the run, where stuff like that can happen, where you resize it a bit too big or a bit too small, where you go where you can't fit through the door on the other end, or a bit too big to where you're really tiny and you move really slow. And we're going to elaborate more on that in a future level called Dollhouse, which no one likes, but we're going to see more of that there. But right now we're going to Cubism. Again, as the name implies, it's all about cubes, except ironically we don't use a cube for this first puzzle, we just kind of jump. And we're going to see all kinds of funky cubes, like this one. We're going to get a half cube here that looks like it should be there, but it's actually part of the floor. And Cubism itself is actually an insanely optimized level, in the sense that incredibly small skips, like this one right here. But I messed it up, and so all the time save was gone. And so essentially all of that movement was purely so that I could not perform a ledge grab, but of course I ended up performing it because I just had to mess up that skip. But like right here, jumping at the very edge so that you don't have to grab onto the ledge right there, that is a really clean optimization. And right here, there's many ways to actually solve this puzzle that a lot of runners prefer. Right there, what I did was use the side of the cube and just jump on it. In an earlier patch of this game, that side of the cube would actually balance itself perfectly onto the edge, onto like the floor, so it wouldn't fall over. But then like in an updated patch when the multiplayer version came out, for some reason the physics of that object just kind of changed, and so you have to solve that in a different way, because if you just balance it on the floor, it's going to fall over. So that's Cubism. Giant.
You've also noticed that you may have also noticed that all the cubes in that level were sort of wonky in a way. Ironically, the only normal cube was the one that we skipped at the very beginning.
Exactly. And so, Gio, you want to explain Blackout?
Yeah, so this chapter is Blackout. So originally when the devs were making this game, they kind of wanted each chapter to be like an anthology sort of thing, where each chapter would have its own theme. And there's still each mechanic in each chapter. However, this is sort of the only chapter that keeps it sort of independent. So it's sort of like a horror game, but it's not. The game's not trying to scare you. Anytime you feel like something scary might happen, the game just goes the other way. It says, nope, it's fake. And we'll be able to see that right at the very end of this chapter. But,
actually,
yeah,
right here,
called Blackout.
Really, right here, really, because you have the these soda cans that say die, die, die. When you look up towards them, they actually say diet soda. And so, yeah, as Giles said, it takes perception's reality and puts it in a complete different light, more metaphorical rather than literal. And so this level is only as scary as you perceive it to be, because there is blood on the floor, there are handprints of blood on the wall, and as we walk around this corner, you're going to see me run into a head, except it's just a chess piece. So it's only as scary as you really let it be. But what were you saying, Joe? I feel like I interrupted you in the middle of a sentence there.
Yeah, I think I was just gonna say that this level is called Blackout very obviously because there's very minimal lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Though asterisk on that, because if you play at low settings, you're sort of able to see more.
Mm-hmm. And right here, we're actually going to do a skip that I'm going to turn off my light for, so I'm going to apologize if, so you're just going to see darkness in my face cam for like 2 seconds. This is Blind Maze. What Blind Maze is that you go through a maze blind, and that's it. That's literally it.
Yeah, normally there's a light that you can pick up that lights up that maze. However, you could just not grab the light and memorize the maze.
Mm-hmm. But what I do right there is if you turn your quality settings all the way down, there's a tiny little line of light that you can use as a reference for your movement the moment that you drop into the maze. And so that is something that I use very often during my runs. Some people do it based on audio, how are your steps. Some people do it based on just plain movement, or and just kind of have a really, really good guesstimate of how far you should be moving in which directions. But in my opinion, the easiest and I feel like the fastest way of doing it, backwards at least, is to use that visual cue. But it apparently doesn't work for some people. I've heard it just doesn't work, especially if you're a console runner. It just doesn't work because you can't turn on the brightness for the most part, or you can't lower the quality settings on console for the most part. But right here, it is clone. What were you gonna say? Sorry?
I was gonna say I'm not sure if you were really able to notice it, but right at the end of the chapter, when all the lights turned on after hitting the idea generator, you were able to see that all the blood and stuff was actually just red paint that they were painting a room.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there was nothing to be
afraid of. It wasn't actually blood. It was just paint.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna change the music to number 3 because I feel like it. Right here is clone. The first puzzle doesn't involve you cloning anything, but this one does. Kind of messes with your expectations a bit. Gio, is there anything in particular you want to mention about clone now that we're here?
Yeah, the only really thing about clone is that if you do own the game on a platform that supports achievements, aka not Switch, if you clone an object 100 times, you get an achievement.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that was a really nice ramp. So the rules of how you clone objects in this game are kind of really arbitrary. They're not really consistent. For example, in this one, you can grab the object and then rotate it, and once you let go of it, you can just grab it again and it'll clone a second time. But for example, in this red apple room, which also, side note, is really, really hard for a lot of casual players. I've seen some people spend 2 minutes. I've seen some people spend 2 hours in this room, but all they have to do is that. Ooh. Oh, that's a perfect example. Is that. They have to just clone the apple onto the button. But again, that's an example of how inconsistent the rules of cloning are, because for that one you couldn't grab the object, you could just clone it and it'll clone where you need to. But as you can see, the cloning mechanic is also based on perspective. And
that's why a lot of people struggle in this room, because they don't understand that cloning is also based off of perspective.
Yes. And what I did right there at the very end, when you right click, all of the clones of an object that you make will go back to the original object, and while they're going back to the original object, there's actually no collision on them, so we can just walk through the object. So was there anything else you wanted to say about clone now that we're exiting it?
No, not really, other than if you didn't know that you could right-click objects to unclone them, you can. There's signs that say you can. You probably just didn't read it.
Yes, I've seen many people miss those signs, and they're like, what do I do? I'm just like, just press right-click. That's all you gotta do. Or left trigger if you're on console, I think. Oh dear, I messed up the movement there.
Oh, nice.
This is Dollhouse. This is no one's favorite level. We all hate Dollhouse with a burning passion. It's the most inconsistent level because of the portal resizing that we mentioned earlier. We're going to see a lot of that. Gio, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, basically the reason why I sort of had like a hiccup there when moving off to the side is that this is the first level where you're supposed to hold backwards at starting to go through that little private theater room.
Mm-hmm.
since it's the first level, you just kind of forget it sometimes. You just have to do that, and you accidentally start going the normal way, but that's
I
why
don't
you
trust
just locked
that.
up. Ooh.
I didn't trust that, so I just decided to fix
Yeah.
it.
And also, you can see there with this dollhouse, depending on what size you make the dollhouse, is the size that you become when you walk through it.
Yes, exactly.
So it really is just trying to make yourself as big as possible while being able to fit through the doors.
It's a balancing act, really. You don't want to be too small to where you're like taking forever to get to the other side of the room, but you don't want to be too big to the point where you can't even fit through the door. And right here is the most important skip of the run. It is radio skip. We're just going to put a radio there and use it to skip the stairs. That is it. It is less than a second of time save, if that. And yeah, it's the most important skip of the run. But here we're going to use a fan to knock down this Jenga tower. And then we're going to resize this window right here. Perfect. Actually, kind of good. That's actually pretty good. You want to explain this bouncy castle and also the keyhole room while we're there, Jai?
Yeah, so this next room involves a bouncy castle. Normally, you wouldn't want to grab the bouncy castle if you're just doing a casual playthrough. You would wait until you're inside of this big pool room. However, if you just go off to the side, you could actually grab the bouncy castle and start. Oh, that was really close.
Yes.
And start resizing it before you enter the room, which allows you to get into the bouncy house faster.
And here we can just do that. And you can explain this keyhole room as well.
Yeah, this keyhole room, basically the same thing. Grab keyhole and walk through it while it's falling down, so that you could walk through keyhole that's in midair. And there's a final dollhouse right at the end that you need to resize.
All things considered, that was actually a really good dollhouse. There was no really huge hiccups, which is ironic because this is the level where most people just choke their runs because of how inconsistent it can be to do things really, really quickly. But here is the next level, Labyrinth. And during this opening sequence of Labyrinth in these hallways, you're going to see me do what seems like seemingly useless parkour, but it does have a purpose. There are 5 audio triggers scattered throughout this hallway. We have found a way to skip 3 of them, but only skipping 2 of them saves time. It does look like we got the first one. When I jumped over that doorway right there, that was the first one, and here we're going to take this soda can to skip the second one right here. And the reason that we skip them is because we want to get to the final audio trigger at the very end as quickly as possible, because that audio trigger, when it ends, it will teleport us to a different part of the level, and so we can progress.
Hey, throw out your trash.
Yes, you're right, I'm sorry. Gotta be a good citizen. Gotta throw out my trash. Actually, that's more recycling, but it's alright. Right here, what we have is we're going to line ourselves up with specific visual cues on the wall here, like for example at the very center of this divot on this water cooler here, and it will transport us right back to the opening room and where we can hit the alarm clock. We're going to do that 3 times, and the reason that works is because when you get teleported back, your horizontal positioning does change, but your vertical positioning doesn't. And so you can just align yourself perfectly and then spam click. Here's a frame perfect trick right here. Get it? Because we went perfectly through a frame. Okay, I think that's my time here. You can find some backup runs. I'm just kidding.
I don't think you even mentioned it, but this level is called Labyrinth. The reason why it's called Labyrinth is because this level is meant to surprise you. It's supposed to have you think, oh, here's the end of the level. This was kind of short. Nope, it wasn't the end of the level. It keeps going.
You get a giant maze. And there's also a literal maze at the end, so.
Yeah, that's it. We'll get to that, though.
We'll get to that. Again, it's all about subverting your expectations, especially even in ways that you don't think that's going to end the level, like right here. Just go through the floor.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, there's an elevator here. That means it's the end of the level because that's what we're used to. But if we wait a few seconds here,
there's not.
Nope. It goes behind you and it goes into this looping hallway area.
Essentially what the solution to this hallway is, and this is, I feel like, the hardest level casually, or hardest puzzle casually, is that whatever direction the sign is telling you to go, you need to look in the opposite direction, because whatever direction you look in first will always have like the dead end, the stop, the do not enter sign, and the second direction you look will have the door to go the right way. Right here, we're going to jump resize again, like mentioned earlier, to, oh my goodness, oh my god!
Oh, come on.
Oh, the physics of this game. That's not a real chess piece, that's just a painting. Really nice. And this next sequence, we're just going to use some cubes that when you grab them, they'll teleport you to different places, much like that one. And then when you jump down here, we're going to go to elevator maze. Jai, you can explain elevator maze.
Yeah, so basically, when you walk through this like maze of elevators here, it seems like it's kind of random and infinitely long. However, there are multiple set patterns that you could use to get to the end fairly quickly. What Oz did was the fastest pattern. However, there are multiple others that are very slightly slower.
Yeah, I think it was back, left, right, left, back. And then
I don't know what the newest pattern is.
That's what I use. What we have here in this parking lot sequence is that you think it's a parking lot, and surprise, surprise, it is just walls. The walls will only appear when you touch the triggers for them, and so we're going to walk backwards, forwards, and then backwards to get all the triggers. And you don't even have to be looking at the walls to trigger them. You can just grab them. You can just trigger them while walking backwards, and the room in the middle will disappear. Right here, we created a paradox by putting a portal into itself. Naturally, I don't know what else you thought the solution was going to be, but that is that.
Hang out for a few hours at jungles, have a drink.
Exactly. Actually, yeah. Oh wait, no, but jungles disappeared from reality.
It's gone.
It's gone. All right.
There's a little diorama there with a building that you can go into. It's fun.
Yeah. But we're not going to tell you how to get into the building because it's a spoiler. And right here, white space, this is the last level of the game. Technically, not the last level. Ish. Asterisk. It's mainly a walking simulator. Yeah, it's just hold W for the most part. Because, you know, glitchless. The glitched, it's weird because this is actually the longest level glitchless, but it's the shortest level in the glitch categories. The world record for it is, I believe, 17 seconds. I think that's probably shorter. But right here, what I just did right there was I reset checkpoint. The reason I did that is because the portals that you walk through in order to go to different parts of the level geometry, they're kind of messed up in this level in the sense that whenever you walk through a portal, that portal specifically, you're not at size 1, which is like the default size. You're at size 0.98 or like 0.998 or something like that. I'm just going to say 0.98.
It's 998, I believe.
998? Okay. You're at 0.998. Also, thunder. I apologize for your headphones. The size is at 0.998. And you're going to progressively get larger to like 0.99 and then 1 as the level progresses because all of the portals in this level are kind of weird. Like that, and because you're a slightly smaller size, you will move slightly slower. But resetting to checkpoint actually makes your default size revert back to 1, and so you will get that get those size increases in the level, but you're going to be slightly bigger than you would normally be, and therefore move slightly faster. And we actually calculated it, and it's 2 seconds free of time save for just resetting checkpoint. I hope I explained that well. It's a very simple thing with a lot of theory behind it. Right here, we're going to get Windows 11.
Reset checkpoint, save time.
Yes, exactly. And because it's IGT, it doesn't really matter. Right here is a very interesting part where you actually turn off the lights. And this is another part where it's kind of meant to make you think it's the end of the game. But if you just move your mouse and turn around, you realize it's not. And you want to be very careful there, because if you just walk backwards, the crosshair will actually disappear. When you turn off the lights, a crosshair in the middle of the screen disappears. And so if you just kept walking backwards without looking at one of the signs, your crosshair would actually never come back. And so you'd have to do the rest of the level without the crosshair. You can still pick up objects, it'd just be harder. And speaking of picking up objects, we're going to go into the last 2 skips of the run. Jaio, you can explain them so I can focus on them, please.
Alright, so this is nice. So this room, double nice. Normally, so these chess pieces, or these chess squares, when you walk onto them without a chess piece being on them, you would fall through. So normally the solution would be to put 2 chess pieces on the board, one on the current square that you're on and one in front of you, so that you could walk onto the square in front of you and then switch them out. You could just do a jump and then resize the chess piece onto the next square. So it's quite difficult, but it's possible. That last room was cheese skip. There's a block of cheese in that room to build a ramp for. But you could just do a cube resize and get to the end.
So this is a really good run. But go ahead.
A good thing about that last cheese skip room is that the checkpoint. So there's a checkpoint right when you get inside of the checkerboard room. If you somehow miss the entrance to the checkerboard room, the checkpoint is actually really big. So you can just reset the checkpoint again there.
Exactly. And with that, at the end of this fall, there is going to be a loading screen. At the other side of the loading screen, there's going to be a alarm clock, and when I hit that alarm clock, that'll be time. So in around 3, 2, 1, and time. That is 22:53.7 IGT. Pretty good, if I do say so myself. Sub 23 is really good. And so yeah, that is Superliminal Glitchless. I do have one more run after this, light matter any percent of the major glitches. I love not doing glitches in my run, as you can see. But with that, yeah, I have been Ozmourn. I hope you really enjoyed this run. We do have a tournament going on right now, as well as just a really, really friendly community. We're welcoming a lot of people, and we've been getting so much traction throughout this game. I feel like I see a new person in the Discord every day posting a PB that they got, or wanting to speedrun the game, and just to see that growth is absolutely amazing. And so I just want to shout out everyone in that community. And if you're interested in, participating in future tournaments or checking out the tournament we have right now, join the Discord. Follow us on our Twitch, twitch.tv/speedyliminal. It's exactly how you think it's spelled. And so that's our community channel where we host the tournament, and that'll be very interesting. And I hope that you are interested in going the run. We'd be happy to teach you, no matter what platform you run on, PC, console. Just play the game. Play the game with us. It's nice. And then again, thank you to Shots Fired for accepting this game, and thank you to Jayo for being actually a very last-minute commentator. I was just like, "Hey, do you have anything to do? And you want to commentate?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Oz DM'd me. It's 12:50 right now. He DM'd me at 12:17.
Yeah, I was just like, "You want to commentate?" And he was like, "Yeah." That was the whole conversation. But yeah, Jayo, is there anything that you want to say before we head out to the next game?
Not really. The only thing I do want to say is that if you are looking at the Speedy Liminal Twitch channel, there's not going to be any streams for the next week, so no, we're not dead, I promise.
Yes, we're taking a break from streams just to give the volunteers a moment to focus on their lives. But yeah, that is that. I'm Ozmourn. This has been Superliminal Glitchless, and stay tuned. I'll be right back with Light Matter any percent of major glitches. I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of the marathon. I'll see you soon.